Hey everyone, welcome to the 4-part series of how to choose the right equipment. Last week we went over how to choose the right lures. This week we're going to go over how to choose the right rod. And if you can't tell, the look is a little different this week than last, and spoiler alert, it'll look a little different than the next 2 weeks because I filmed all 4 parts of the series at one time, and for whatever reason, typical electronics, I had no sound on part 2, so I'm re-recording part 2. You can see my boat behind me. It's soaking wet from fishing in the rain over the weekend. I'm not getting in the boat to get wet, so I've grabbed a rod and I've got you propped up on my toolbox in the shop, and we will go over how to pick the right rod. So have you ever lost 3 or 4 fish in a row and you thought, man, what am I doing wrong? I wonder if I've got the right rod. I know you have, because I've thought the same thing over and over. And while choosing the right rod seems simple, a lot of times it's not as simple as it seems. Most of the time you'll find 3 things on all rods. You'll find the length, you'll find the power, and the action. And the length seems to be the most simple, and it probably is. Obviously, the shorter the rod, the little bit better aim you can make. The longer the rod, it's harder to skip up under docks and stuff with a long rod, but it makes longer throws. And it also takes up more line when you set the hook, allowing you to set the hook in deeper water and move more line and hook more fish. That's pretty simple. If you're up close and personal, shorter rod will come in more handy. Long throws, deep water, the longer rod moves more line. But now we get into the action and the power, which I'll tell you this, I did a little research to make sure I was right, and I actually have always said these 2 backwards. So you'll see something, this one says extra fast and medium heavy. I've always called the speed of it the power, and the medium heavy I've always called the action, but I'm wrong. So now that I read my rod, I know I'm wrong. The action of this rod is extra fast. The power is medium heavy. So what the action refers to is the parabolic bend in the rod. How far down the rod it bends. This is the stiffness of the rod. So what that means is the extra fast, say this, you'll see slow, moderate, medium fast, fast, extra fast. You'll see all these different actions, but what that means, because it's, like, what does that mean? What it means is how fast the tip of that rod returns to its original position, right? So if it's a really stiff rod and you bend it, when you let go, it will quickly go to its original position. If it's a softer rod and you bend it and let go, it will take longer to go to its original position. Now we're talking like milliseconds. It doesn't take long. But regardless, a softer rod will take longer to return to its original position. A faster rod or a stiffer rod will return quicker. Therefore, an extra fast rod is a stiff rod that returns to its original position from that parabolic bend. A medium, say, rod is a softer rod that returns slower to its position from that parabolic bend. So that's some fancy scientific type talk, but what does that mean? Like in real world, how do we apply what we know on the action of the rod, the speed of the rod? So if you're throwing a treble hook type bait, you don't want a real stiff tip on that rod. You want it to have parabolic bend. You don't want, because a stiffer tip will pull the treble hook out of the fish. So you want a little bit more parabolic bend. So you're wanting a slower action rod, like a medium. If you are setting the hook hard, like flipping, throwing a jig, you want that tip to be pretty stiff. You don't want to set the hook and it bend halfway down that rod before it stiffens up. And that's where you come in with a fast, or even like this one being an extra fast. That's kind of what you want for those stiffer tips that are more for hook set. The softer tips, the slower tips, are more for the treble hook type baits, and letting them eat your bait too. Like a spinner bait or chatterbait or a swim bait, I like to let them eat it just a little bit before they get it. That slower tip will allow them to get it in their mouth good before you set the hook, so you don't rip it out of their mouth. So the last thing is the power of the rod. Now, this is what a lot of people, you'll hear them, a lot of times you don't even hear people say anything about the action. A lot of people say, what rod do you have? Well, I've got a 7-foot medium heavy rod. Well, that, that's the power, and that's what a lot of people refer to as how strong the rod is. But that action and the speed of that tip has a lot to do with the strength too. But the power of it is how heavy it is, how much backbone is on down this rod. Right? Like you've got the parabolic bend and the speed of the tip, but then as you come down this rod, you get into the power and how much backbone does this rod have down here to really put some meat into it when you set the hook. So this is a medium heavy. Really anything medium heavy to even extra heavy is what you want setting the hook. And then like a cranking type situation, treble hook type situation, I like going medium heavy, even down to medium if it's a lightweight bait. And then, spinnerbait, chatterbait, that medium heavy is a real good power for that. Matter of fact, this rod is a 7-foot medium heavy extra fast. Pretty versatile rod. I'd say probably the most versatile rod on the market would be a 7-foot medium heavy fast. A little softer tip than the extra fast. Man, you can do 7 foot's long enough to be able to pick up the slack, set the hook, but it's short enough you can aim and get it under stuff. Definitely has backbone, but not too much. You can work most baits. Like this rod in general says it throws from a 1/4 ounce to an ounce. That's a big, like everything you're throwing pretty much is between a 1/4 and an ounce. So if you're not able, just go get technique specific rods. I encourage you to look for a 7-foot to even a 7.2, 7.3, and you're wanting a medium heavy and a fast on the action. It's kind of what you're looking for. I hope this has helped you a little bit in choosing what rod. Next week, we're going to kind of go over how we choose what reel. Thanks so much, y'all.